And welcome to Redeeming the Time. I am your host, Jacob Wells. This is my dad, my co-host, Keith Eric Wells. This is episode 121. Enjoyed last week with Justin.
Yeah, that was good.
Seemed like other people are enjoying it as well. For me. It has sparked other conversations about the Middle East and Islam and stuff like that. So, pretty cool.
Very good. Yeah.
So we're gonna do an abbreviated beginning here because we want to get into our main thing. But do you know who is the favorites for the NBA?
Oh man,
Have you paid attention at all?
I have not. I usually pay attention
because the playoffs started.
I pay attention about halfway through the playoffs because their playoffs last forever.
Yeah.
I was talking to your mom about that yesterday. It's like, how many teams make it in? And it's like all but two, right?
Yeah.
In each division.
2/3 of.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
It's the same thing with the NHL. They started there.
Technically, though,
and the difference between that and the NFL is NFL's one game.
Yeah.
I mean, you play one game, you're done. These are like 2 out of 3, 3 out of 5, 4 out of 7 type deal. So it lasts forever.
Well, the playing games were this week, that's one game.
All I saw
still
was ESPN saying, will San Francisco make it into the playoffs?
They did not.
They didn't?
No.
Oh, wow.
So they made the play-in game, won the 9 and 10 game, which then they played for the 8 game.
They got to completely reboot.
And so they didn't get smoked. Somebody got smoked. The Magic smoked somebody by 30 points. Oh, the Hornets for the 8-9 game. The Magic destroyed by like 30 points.
All right. So you asked me who do I think the favorites are.
Do you know what's going on?
I've got to say.
Who are the 1 seeds?
OKC is probably a 1 or a 2 seed.
OKC is the 1 in the West.
And then.
This is.
Oh man, it's probably. Oh crud.
If you get this right, I'll shake your hand.
It's not the Celtics because they've not.
They're the 2 seed,
okay.
I believe. Think 80s.
Pistons?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, they Cade Cunningham, and he's the engine of the whole operation. But they're very young. 2 years ago.
Yeah, there's been a lot of shift in the last 2 years. I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, if you listen to what's the dude? Cowherd. He's such a homer for LA. I mean, everything is about the Lakers. Everything's about the Dodgers. And it's like, I don't want to hear about them. They're terrible. Why constantly bringing this drama up? And, yeah.
Well, they're a 5 or a 4 seed, I think.
Yeah, I mean.
But Luka and Austin Reeves are hurt, so it's LeBron.
It's always drama.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
they replaced drama from LeBron with drama with Luka.
Mm-hmm.
And some people... They're saying he's the best player and all this stuff. He drives me nuts with how
there's a lot of other really good young players
that don't argue every time a call is made. I know it's just the NBA now, but man alive, there's something about his arguing that drives me nuts.
I have no prediction right now. I haven't watched enough to.
I think it's going to be the Celtics OKC. I think it's going to be just run it back. Okay. I think. No, it was Pacers last year.
Yeah, it was Pacers.
But I thought the Pacers just got hot last year. I don't think they were
that good.
Yeah,
right.
But also it stinks that Halliburton got hurt. They could have won, but
that's true. But
whatever.
So we barely care. So we know anyone watching doesn't care at all.
No one cares at all right now, for sure.
Sports and stuff like that, except for Jason might care. They like it.
He watches. Yeah, he watches every night. So
every night.
I think once the playoffs get going, I do. I mean,
I'll
when the games are on,
I'll check in.
Yeah.
All right, so go ahead. Let's get with our new series. I'm excited about this series. I'm concerned about this series, just because the amount of study that I'm going to need for some of the future lessons.
So yeah, this series, it's biblical versus worldview type on different topics. So I forget what we came up. Hannah has a better title for us. Okay. That's in the bulletin and stuff. But I should probably get that.
Yeah, that would be good.
What is it?
Uh,
Don't have the
no,
new
I
one.
got the plastic.
It's all good.
It's on my
That's the
desk.
concept of it, though. We have these hot button topics in the world that there is a difference between what the Bible says about it and
Unraveling Worldviews.
yes, there's a difference between what we believe based on a biblical perspective and what the world is pushing, the
Yeah.
sinful human nature.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So there's 3 comments. The idea that with this, ideas have consequences. So the whole thing, whatever your worldview, if you're not familiar with that term, so how you see life, what you believe determines what you think, and then what you think determines what you do, and what you do dominates your life.
yeah,
So that's why this is so critical.
so
Doesn't make one right over the other just for saying that, but that's what a worldview is.
yeah, so I don't want this to be. We're trying really hard because we're both teachers and preachers, so it's very easy for us to get into that mode of like get into a preaching, like you're just going. I want this more to be diving into what they actually believe. They, as in the people
Whoever,
that are
worldview.
the worldview, what the worldview actually believes, and I mean, we could be on here for 3 hours if we unpacked every single one, but there are core issues within each of these different topics. And so the topics that we're going over is abortion, LGBTQ, moral. Yeah, there's those type of things. So these aren't just things that we can come on here anymore and just be like, this is what it is. Believe it or don't believe it. That's not my concern. That's not our world anymore.
Right.
We were talking about that a little bit, where my generation, they want to know the why. They want to know, just to say, believe this is what the Bible says. Why would I believe the Bible? Like, there's more questions within that. I think that's not just our generation, but it's becoming more of
it's more prevalent.
And when you can go online and find answers, whether they're right or wrong,
Sure.
they gravitate toward those because
He asked me about today's subject,
which is creation or
evolution, and I've taught this before, that type of thing, and he's like, no, I don't want, why is there the moon the distance it is from the earth, that kind of stuff. I want the why behind it. So I'm gonna try. I'm a nerd, so I like the scientific stuff. I think that's why I've always been drawn to it, I think.
And I think there is an element where you have to look at that stuff, but that's not the starting point. And so that's where all this comes from, is that I saw a quote that it says, the creation debate is not just about science, it's about starting points. Everyone is looking at the same evidence, but interpreting it through different worldviews. And when you interpret it from different worldviews, like you were saying, it dictates what you do, dictates what you think. And another word for this is presuppositions, and we've talked about that before.
I'm looking for. Go ahead. I'm looking for something here.
With presuppositions, that word is you're going into an argument with what you believe already, and you are not going to be swayed. Like presuppositions, that's a terrible way of explaining it, but we have them. People that we talk to have them. Everyone has presuppositions.
Sure.
And it's just the lens in which we look at the world, which when we look at the facts and when we look at the nerdy details and all that stuff, that doesn't break down those presuppositions. For some, yes. Like we were talking about with Islam and Nabil Qureshi. He needed to know the facts. He needed to know.
That's how
But he is also a scholarly nerd. I don't want to, not in a derogatory way, but so when we look, if we just throw facts out there, then that's just saying believe this blindly in their opinion. And when you do that, you're destroying you're going to their presuppositions and believe that, and you're destroying the foundation of what makes them who they are in their minds. Why would they change everything just because you say this is the fact? There's so many more layers there, and so that's kind of that's how we're approaching this series, and especially evolution.
I was trying to bring up. There's a new movie coming out. The Lee Strobel was advertising, and now I can't seem to find it. It has like a starry sky out there, and it's coming out at the end of the month. Oh man, I'll have to find that later.
Yeah.
But the worldview is important because most people are living, and I'd ask you to consider this. Consider how you're living. Consider a triangle. The worldview is your base that determines then the next level, which is your values, right? And then your values determining your behavior. So think of it that way. This worldview. Unfortunately, a lot of folks are upside down. Maybe that's you. And you think about this. Is your behavior, you're letting your behavior determine your values. Well, that doesn't work. And then your values determine your worldview. That's inconsistent. That gives you a life that's not satisfying. It leads to despair. So we have to evaluate how we're living. And one of the ways of doing that is, our worldview has to pass some tests. Is it logically consistent? It can't be, you can live that way for a little bit when you're not thinking, you're just responding, but eventually you come up, am I contradicting myself? Self-contradictory is like Jim is married to Sue, but Sue's not married to Jim. That doesn't make sense. That's not logically consistent. It also has to match what we see in reality. You can say you're all kinds of things. You can tell me, this isn't the subject of today. You can tell me you're a cat all you want. That's not what we're seeing. That's not, you can tell me all trees are blue. That's not empirically adequate, so that doesn't hold up.
Yeah.
And then the other one is it has to speak to how we actually live. If I say I do this, all men live in harmony, and I look around and I see what's going on in the world, that doesn't work either. So a worldview has to pass some tests. Does yours? That's an important thing.
Yeah, and that's the crux of what we're trying to get after when we're looking at this. I guess there's an exercise that I saw, like a thought exercise when looking at that. Even us saying that and saying it has to pass tests, some people just, okay, I'm not going to do that. Like I'm comfortable in where I'm at.
I'm comfortable. That's the key word.
And so, and when you do that, when you are questioning your own foundations there, that takes work.
Yeah.
I keep going back to Nabil, but he changed that bottom layer there of what he was taught. And so it took years and years and years there, and
That's
heartbreak.
Okay. Yeah.
And why would I want to do that? And so the exercise that I saw was, if someone came up to you and said that to you, to me, to people that have the same belief, would we
even consider it?
Would we even consider it? Because it's the same thing, just the opposite of. And so when we're looking at this, that's what we're asking other people to do. And that's.
Yeah, and I'd admit today I would be a lot less willing to do that than I would have when I was your age. At your age, you're still considering and thinking, and was this something that I taught you? And Is that alone enough to hold water? Uh, you know, some people yes, some people no. Uh, I think with this though, is there's something in our lives that's digging that we know something's not consistent, and the four big questions, you've heard these before, but the four big questions roll around in our head. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you live and when you've lived. The Is there a consistency in where I came from? What's my purpose here? Uh, what's right and wrong, and what's going to happen when I die?
Yeah.
Those four have to be answered: origin, meaning, morality, destiny. All right, and those are the ones that get hold of your heart.
Yeah.
Because we do. There is, doesn't matter how old you are, you come off a situation like we're going to be going to. We're recording this on Saturday. Brother Greg's mom passed away, and you're going to sit in a funeral of a woman that lived her life well, and you're gonna start thinking.
Yeah.
And you're gonna, okay, this isn't just ceremony. This is a real person's life. Was this the right life?
Yeah.
And and then you're going to sit in others and you're going to go, something's not right here.
Yeah.
I might have been raised this way, but it just, God's working in your heart there, and there's an inconsistency.
Yeah.
So
I guess the question that comes from that is that I believe that I'm grounded in truth. So when I'm questioning, I'm not. There are presuppositions, whatever, but I've asked the questions already at this point. I've asked those,
okay.
And but are you? It took time though. It took effort, and so I think something within a lot of people. I don't want to call. I'm not calling anybody out, but this is a common issue, I guess, for lack of a better term, that the effort to answer those questions and find a legitimate answer and not just take what they see on our phones and what we see in textbooks and just believing it. And are we even, I'm trying to say it as gently as possible here.
Just say it.
Are we?
What?
I can't think of the word actually. Are we willing to even question what we're?
Well, that's not on us as Christians to make a person willing. That's on.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying if someone who believes in the opposite of what we're teaching here, there has to be a point where you're looking at it with scrutiny or with.
Are you willing?
Yeah, and most people, I would say, do not. And so I'm not that. You got to be able to look at what you're believing and be able to be okay with it not being correct. Because you have to first see that before you start believing anything else. And that is impossible to some people.
Well, I truly believe that God will get hold of a person's heart, and he'll use the testimony of someone. He'll use something of this nature. He'll use a circumstance in their life to get hold of them. And then a person has to make a choice.
Yeah. And
you can harden yourself to a certain point where you just don't listen anymore and refuse to, and that's where you are in life. But if you're watching today and you're watching, I mean, that's good. I mean, And you can think we're full of hogwash. That's fine.
I'd love to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I'm,
like we say it all the time here, truth has nothing to hide.
yeah.
And the Word of God is there, and he's open. It's not. We invite you to bring your Bible. We invite you to search Scripture and to ask questions. You don't see that everywhere else. If you were to question other things, we're looking at evolution today. If you go against the mindset, if you go against the norm, you are ostracized in much of the scientific community today. And that's not because you're unintelligent, because we're going to show that that's not true. In fact, my sermon this Sunday shows, some of the greatest scientists of all time are Christian, were and are Christians. In fact, if you look at the advances in science, they came from the western part of the world first, because they believe in a God of order, and they were looking into the natural world for order, and they found exactly what they were looking for. That comes from a knowledge of God. So as we look into this, I hope you consider our thoughts. I think I went off target a little bit.
No, when I say impossible, I mean to us it seems impossible, which then you said you hit the nail on the head, where it's not us.
Yeah, it's not.
It's got to be God that grabs a hold of their heart, but you have to be at least willing to even listen.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you're listening to this,
yes,
you are. But
yeah, I hope you'll listen. And honestly, as Christians too, we need to look at other folks, and ask the same questions and be honest with ourselves. I say that I don't look as much because I have considered it for a long time, and I feel settled in that, and I have the reasons why.
So the Christians that are listening, there's two sides of this where we're not just. I want this to be something that we can share to people, but also to bolster and equip Christians as well. So hopefully this series is something that you can share, but also know yourself with I hate using argument, but the evidence that we show,
Evidence
and
is a good word. Yep.
The logic trails that we go on and all that stuff. So
we haven't even touched evolution yet.
No, we haven't. That's why I wanted to go quick.
All right.
So for me, there are 5 core issues that come up with different conversations that I've had and what I've researched.
We've not discussed these, so if I stutter a little bit.
But they're all they all go together, and we kind of touched on it before.
Go for it.
So the time or the age of Earth in the universe, that is a big one, because you hear
that one's pumped constantly.
Billions of years. Everyone, it's just thrown out there now.
Yeah,
it's just part of culture.
Right. Your entire generation's grown up watching those just brainless Ice Age movies, and they've made them fun, and everything's millions and millions and billions of years. And now, it's just part of every documentary that you hear.
And it sounds good to people.
Yeah, so how do you... Up until 200 years ago, no one thought that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's there's the process, which is evolution or creation, the how. The authority and the interpretation. So where is your authority coming? The Bible or science? And then the interpretation of those things kind of go hand in hand there, where science is always literal, and then they say Bible is symbolic. Do we interpret the Bible as literal or symbolic? And then the theology of the purpose and the sin and death and the humanity of of creation. Basically, why are we here? With those questions that you were asking.
Mash some of those together, if that's okay.
Yeah. So I think it'd be good to start with the authority and interpretation, because that dictates kind of the rest of them. To a certain extent. So the saying or the the belief here. We're looking, or not the belief, but the kind of summary of this argument. We're looking at the same evidence,
Correct.
yet are coming to vastly different conclusions.
Right.
You look at the Ken Ham and Bill Nye debate. They're looking at the same thing, yet they are nowhere near each other. And as they debated, they saw how close they actually were, but there was still a defiance to the argument,
Right.
both arguments, because of the different authorities that they're putting into. So
Yeah.
Bill Nye was science, and Ken Ham was the Bible. And so which one are we putting our authority in? And with that, we believe that our authority is the Bible, which then leads into the interpretation.
Okay, so you just set up the way you set that up is how the world sets that up, actually. And I'm not being a punk to you. Bill Nye was not science and Ken Ham the Bible.
Yeah.
They both were looking and using science. The thought was where the authority comes from.
Yeah.
All right. So, we're looking at the exact same thing when we look at, as you said, there's a difference between, I'm getting around to this, there's a difference between observational science, which if you're a scientist, an engineer, anyone, that you're dealing with observational science. You're looking at a cell, you're looking at tensile strength on marble, like you were talking about the other day, that kind of stuff. That's something that you can go through the scientific method, you can prove, you can talk about all those types of things. That's one thing. Now, how we look at that observational science, that comes down to what we think of as historical science or origin science. And this is where we present assumptions into the conclusions. The assumptions are unproven, unprovable, so they are beliefs.
Theories.
Yeah. So if I believe that the world was created from a Big Bang, which there's all kinds of problems that come up with that, that's a different subject here. But evolution believes 3 billion years ago. There are no intermediary creatures observed in our fossil record that show this. So I have to come up with something that I believe. So evolution is a religion in itself. A religion is a definition, a cause, a principle, or an activity pursued with zeal or conscientious devotion. Now they'll say, well, it's based on the facts that I see. Okay, I believe that God created the world, and I believe it's based on the facts that I see as well.
So what are the facts? Yeah.
Right. There's no way to go back to the origin to see that. But based on the evidence that I see, I think it best matches up with what the Word of God says and what pursues from there. The evolutionists will say the same thing. So then it comes down to origin, meaning morality, destiny. And I believe, and I trust, as we read in Romans chapter 1, that and as we read in the Psalms, that God has made it evidence in our heart that He is the Creator. So I don't think I proved anything there, but go ahead.
The question that comes up: why should I trust the non-scientific Bible over empirical evidence or evidence the scientific world that they take what science? I like how you differentiated between the different sciences, because science is just thrown out there like
it's the end all.
Yeah. And so the science that they're used to being taken as fact, which is the observational science, which is a lot of like it's good.
Yeah, I can tell you how many electrons are in an atom, all that kind of,
They take that as the same science as, evolution is science. That is not the same science at all.
Not at all.
And so, that question, why should we trust the non-scientific Bible over science, basically, that
That doesn't.
that's not an.
Yeah, I didn't explain that very well, but
I think you did.
as you consider both as a Christian and non-Christians that believe evolution, and some Christians do believe it, it has become a religion.
Yeah.
And so we have to determine how we do that, how we talk about that. And you have to ask questions. You have to, you ask how did that occur? When did that happen? What are your assumptions in it? There's all kinds of assumptions. Every testing method, you name it, is based on some assumptions.
Yeah. So Lee Strobel, in the case for a creator, not the case for Christ, he went with evolution, with their theories and everything. There is a beginning,
right?
And that is widely accepted that there was a beginning to the universe. And so when we look at the universe, our universe, it points heavily toward it brings up the question of what is the cause to start that universe. So when you're looking at the universe, I love how he does it is so much better than what I'm about to do. But the cause has to be transcendent because it existed apart from the creation.
Okay.
It has to be eternal because it existed before physical time. It has to be immaterial because it existed before the physical world was created. It has to be powerful, given the immensity of the creation event, or the event that caused everything. It has to be intelligent, given the precision of the creation event. I mean, our bodies are telltale sign. You have
there's
so many different things.
Irreducible complexity. Yeah.
It has to be caring, created because it created such a wonderful habitat for us to exist in that it can be in harmony and was in harmony. And then it has to be personal because it had to make the decision to create. So all of those things, transcendent, eternal, immaterial, powerful, intelligent, caring, personal, just based off of observational science of what it is.
Yeah, that's chapters and chapters of making that argument, though. Just for you to say that.
But
in a podcast for, in 2 minutes, people aren't going to accept that, right?
Yeah, but
worth reading.
It is, it's worth looking into. Okay, what does that transcendent actually mean, and how?
Yeah, because there's some things, the universe could not have made itself. That's self-contradictory. That doesn't work. And the universe couldn't have always existed. Even the most strident evolutionists believe that, because you look out in science, it's running out of steam. I mean, it's slowly coming to a point where it's either going to stop or contract. There's no continuing, so if it always existed, there has to be a starting point. So it had to be created, and some those go back. Well, it's the Big Bang. Well, that you just pushed the question back. Who created the Big Bang? And they'll say, well, because it just goes through this cycle of expanding and contracting and expanding and contracting. Okay, well, when did it happen the first time? You're not answering the question. You're just pushing the question back.
Yeah.
All right, I'm
Which then,
folks, go ahead.
when you go into then the theology of it, what is the Big Bang, the personal and the caring part? Why are we here? Why are human beings intelligent above every other created thing on the earth? Why are we here, as with a moral compass, with a desire to do different?
Find meaning in itself?
So
to see beauty.
How did that come about? Why are we are not the same as a chimpanzee. We are not the same as a single-celled organism. So we can get into that now or later, but
no, I mean, that comes down, we believe in the beginning. All right. We believe that God created us in his image. We did not come from a single cell organism or a bunch of proteins that came together to make an amino acid, and on and on and on. I'm sorry, the opposite of that. Amino acids coming together to make proteins, and so on and so forth. We don't believe that because one, that is not observable ever, and as it goes on, the whole Mother Earth thing, it doesn't hold up. When we believe, I'm off track here, but an evolutionist believes in the tree of life. All right, they believe from this some random thing happened that caused a single cell to form, which the complexity in that is.
Yeah, we studied cells like every year of our in school.
Honestly, and I'm not being a jerk here. If you believe that, you have more faith than I do as a Christian. To believe that the complexity of a cell could come about by just random chance over just whatever amount of time you can think of. It's just not possible. And so
yeah.
So you have that on top of it. But they believe in a tree of life where this went into this went into this. So eventually it splits off, and you've got, dogs that have gone this way, and things that have, and, we came from a fish that then became a tadpole that then became a bird or whatever. And I'm being facetious a little bit there. That we became, chimpanzees and Neanderthals and on to who we are. All right. We don't see that. It's not in the fossil record. There's no intermediaries ever been found. There's not a thing called punctuated equilibrium where there was giant jumps or anything like that. My battery just died here. There's none of those types of things found in the fossil record. What we believe is what they call the orchard of life, where there is at creation there were kinds. That's the word the Bible uses. And from that kind, there have been multiple, say for dogs, you've got the wolf and the coyote and the dog and you name it that have come from that. You do not have a dog becoming a cat or a man or a monkey becoming a man. We believe that there are orchards of life, meaning there are different folks that have come off, different types of animals, different types of birds that have come off of that orchard of life. Did I answer that question? I think I got off topic.
No, so that's oftentimes something with the process of it
Right.
is the evolution versus creation. So we get caught up in the how, but really the theology goes into the why.
I'm getting stuck on the house. All right,
but no, the how, we view that as not we. It can oftentimes be misunderstood as the orchard being like that whole what you just went into as what they call microevolution.
Yeah.
But microevolution happening over billions of years. So those kinds, sure, but what's stopping the microevolution of a chimp becoming a man?
That's not microevolution. That's macroevolution.
Yeah, so but that's the belief of that is microevolution.
And they just throw those you watch a documentary, they'll just throw those two terms together. There is a difference between microevolution and macroevolution, if you just want to use flat terminology. Microevolution is, okay, why are all the people in Scandinavia, the majority of people that grew up there, pale-skinned and light-haired? Well, that's because the people that went up there that had darker skin, I'm just generalization here, you need vitamin D, else you're going to die, or you're going to get rickets or something of that nature. With fair-skinned people are going to be able to take in that vitamin D from the little amount of sun that they get during the year. Okay, you take you take those same people and you put them down in South Africa. Now
Not South Africa.
let's go somewhere closer to
Kenya.
the equator. Okay, you're going to go to Brazil, or you're going to go to Egypt, or somewhere like that, and that same group of people are going to die out because they're going to get skin cancer because they're getting too much of it. Or someone that has more melanin in their skin, they're going to do better in that. Why is an animal that looks more like the trees, like a butterfly that looks more like the trees versus a monarch, going to survive better in certain areas? Well, microevolution, just survival of the fittest type situation, is going to weed that out. That animal that does better in that certain environment is going to survive more, and therefore the genes of that are going to be passed on. So that's microevolution.
Yeah.
Where macroevolution is, okay, Alice the ape turned into Alice the lady from Scandinavia. That's not observable ever.
Yeah. The thing that doesn't, I don't know if this is a good argument or not, but the thing that didn't make sense to me, if the chimpanzees now, are they just late? Like why are they not human? Like why didn't if they were billions of years chimpanzees, then why didn't all of them, were they the babies? Like that, I don't know if that's a good argument, but
I don't think that's a great argument, but
why isn't there, like you were saying, the meaty areas where there is a chimpanzee?
Yeah, there's none of that found. And anytime they have found it, it's gone back to see, well, it was either they put two animals together, or there are a lot of hoaxes out there as well when they've gone back to study those.
Yeah, so like why isn't there a chimpanzee doing the most basic human things?
Yeah.
Where like
or they'll say it's a Neanderthal or something like that, where they find the majority of those were either they were an animal or they were a person. Like there's the famous case where they came, when they actually studied the bones, they found out it was somebody that lived during the Ice Age, and they didn't see the sun forever, so they had rickets, and it caused the deformity in the person's bones. These are all, you can find all of these in answer books and things of that nature, so I'm not just throwing things off the cuff here. The bigger question for me always comes down to the cell level when it comes to like bacterias, and you always say, well, it's evolved. This virus has evolved. So, okay, did it grow strong? It grew stronger. Those are sort of the terminologies. That's not what's happening there. It's actually mutating. Mutations do occur.
Yes.
But a mutation is always a loss of information, not a gain of information. To gain information in your DNA would mean you are doing macroevolution. That doesn't occur. The mutations are always a loss of information. So what used to be real specific and say an antidote for something, or whatever type of medicine you would use for that, now it doesn't work because that one little element has been lost.
Yeah.
And we need something else. So it has to be a broader and a broader and a broader, which makes them more dangerous to us over time. That's why they've started doing the RNA type. They've gone at it that way now.
Gotcha. So with that, a lot of like what I've heard is, okay, if microevolution is true, then that goes with the macroevolution, and that's why some people believe in evolution because of that. Microevolution can be true.
It's
with
true.
Well, it can be true.
Right.
With creation. It does not only it's not only true with macroevolution as the big.
Correct.
There are, as Christians, we are saying microevolution does happen.
Yeah.
Mutations happen. Those things happen.
We have
all the different species and all the different things that we have were not on Noah's Ark. I mean,
correct. Yeah,
they were kinds.
But they were kinds. All the kinds were brought to the Ark.
So,
and that you want to go into the science of that all fits. We could spend a whole episode on that if you want.
So the process there, you can have there is microevolution. Okay. That does not just prove evolution. That's a different thing. So the other thing, how can Genesis say creation happened in 6 days when science says that the universe is billions of years old? Now this goes back to kind of the theory where are they getting those numbers? That was always, even as a young kid that didn't understand like everything, obviously, where one textbook says 63 billion. I read an article the other day, 132 billion.
Yeah, I read something today that they found hippopotamus bones, they said, are 100 million years old underneath some castle in the United Kingdom. So, yeah.
So this goes back to the authority and the faith part for me, where you're putting more faith in those scientists making up a number.
No, they're not.
They're not making it up, but theorizing a number rather than...
Yeah, I go at that a different angle, because they're not making stuff up.
No,
I mean, it's consistent.
Shouldn't have said that. But
it is based, once again, it is based on what are your assumptions.
Yes.
All right? So you're making an assumption. I don't know how to...
Yeah, it's tough.
Okay, I don't know how to explain this without going into details that you don't want me to go into. So, all right, so for instance...
Go ahead.
Okay, for any living organism, there is a C12-C14 ratio. All right,
that's carbon 14,
carbon 12, carbon 14 ratio. All right, and the C14 decomposes down to C14. Well, as you're living, you're constantly breathing in, you're constantly living, and that ratio stays constant. When you die, you're no longer breathing in air, you're no longer doing the normal functions, and the C14 ratio starts to decay down to C12. So based on what the normal ratio is, they can determine how old you are based on how much C14 is left in your body. Now that's for living, that's for organic. There's another test for non-organic that it's pretty much the same issue though. So the issue is with that, has that C12-C14 ratio always been consistent? They're making an assumption of yes. So based on that, they can look back and they can say, okay, this is 100 million years old based on this C12-C14 ratio. However, if you take ice core samples and look at what the C12, because you've frozen it during the time of the ark,
yeah,
the ratio has not been consistent over the thousands of years.
Yeah.
And when you go back and you make the different proportion, you find it is orders of magnitude difference to where now you have an Earth that's, I'll give you 6,000 to 10,000 years old, all right, versus millions. They keep a record of all of these things there's a geological record of everything that's been tested across the world. It's in this geological record. If you go back and adjust it based on a changed C12-C14 ratio, instead of seeing things hundreds of million years old, you start to see things there was this massive buildup around 4,000 years ago. What happened 4,000 years ago? Noah's Ark, yeah. So these giant fossil graveyards that you find that. And now since that time you see a decline because, there have been less that have died during that time and that have fossilized.
Yeah.
So that, just simple things like that as you're looking at it. Now here's on a theological part for us as Christians.
Before you go into that, there was a guy that went on Joe Rogan that has found like tropical animals in a huge, he bought like thousands of acres and they're like digging it up basically, and they're tropical animals in Alaska.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Siberia in the what do they call that, the thermofrost?
Yeah.
Yeah. They've taken that and they've found, woolly mammoths, and inside their stomachs are tropical plants.
Yeah.
Growing up, I always saw woolly mammoths out in the snow. Woolly mammoths wouldn't survive out in the snow. The ice would build up on all that fur, and they'd wind up
Yeah.
keeling over from the weight.
But
So
you're about to go into the theology.
okay, so this is more important than any of that C12 stuff, because your eyes just glazed over if you're probably listening to this and you don't like science.
Well, if they're this far in, they're probably into it.
So as Christians, so a lot of Christians are there's a term called theistic evolutionists, where they believe, okay, I want to believe in God, but I also want to believe in evolution because I don't want to look like an idiot around my friends. I mean, basically, if you want to, there's other reasons people would be that way. Just maybe they were just raised that way. That's where they were thought. Now think through this. If the world is actually just 1 million years old, it doesn't matter the number. You can make it 100 million. That doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
The Bible tells us that we're around 6,000 to 7,000 years since creation.
We'll say literal interpretation of the day, right?
Correct. If you look at day for meaning a 24-hour day, and there's all kinds of theories, gap theory, all kinds of stuff like that. If you believe that the earth is actually millions of years old, when did death occur? After sin. All right? So, if you believe that there were millions of years, either that means you believe that these animals lived and never died. That's not observable because we see fossils, so that we know that's not true. Or you believe that animals were dying and suffering and disease and all of that stuff before Adam and Eve committed the first sin. That makes God the author of sin. That's a problem. That means God's the author of suffering. He's the author of sin. He's the author of death. So from a theological standpoint, that doesn't hold water.
Yeah.
So that doesn't disprove millions of years. But from a theological standpoint, it's something you have to consider, and it has to be something in the discussion. So what I'm trying to say here is the problem has been for years. I mean, I use a Schofield Bible. It has his notes. C.I. Schofield, I think, is his initials. But in there, he is a gap theorist. A gap theorist is someone that tried to they wanted to force science into the Word of God, or the Bible into science, whichever way you want to say that. So he said, okay, between day 1 and day 2, or between day 2 and day 3, there were gaps of millions of years. That's a problem because of that exact reason I just said.
Yeah, because if the sixth day man was created, and then we know what happens in Genesis 3 with them committing the sin. But if day 6 didn't happen until 5 million years after, or 2 million years after,
yeah,
animals and the fowl of the air, like that type of thing, then what was going on? Did they just live those millions of years, or did they? Yeah. Was there death, and was there?
Well, based
suffering?
on the fossil record, we know there was death. So
yeah.
So something's not jiving there.
Yeah.
So I say all that not to prove or disprove. I say all that as Christians, we have to be honest with ourselves there, and don't try to force some discovery in the world into the Bible, because there's a problem with that, because the Word of God never changes. The theories that have been around change constantly.
Yeah.
They are theories. So I don't know if I'm helping or confusing here. So
no, I think you're.
Go ahead.
Let's land the plane a little bit. So science in the Bible are not contradictory. The idea of what we say science is, which is the evolution and that part of science, that is contradictory. But the microevolution, the different things, that the observable science, those types of things, those are not the same thing, and they can and they do fit with the Bible.
Right.
And I think that is a major thing here, where the word science is thrown out there and we just automatically, oh, well, that goes against, or it does go with, like you were saying, and so we shove it into the Bible, or we try and do that.
Yeah, I've heard the phrase many times. The Bible is not a science book.
No.
All right. However, anytime something scientific is mentioned in the Bible, it is always true.
Yes. So
there's no contradiction of science in the Bible. Let's put it that way.
there's also a point of where we get into faith here, which is we do not have every single detail of how God created the earth. If we did have that, then it would be
it'd be just based perfect. It would just be rebellion at that point.
Yeah. And so there is a point where we need to focus more on the why rather than the how. And now when you're using it, when you're in an apologetic argument or any like conversation with someone, the how is important and those things that we went over. But in my opinion, it comes down to the why. And the why are we here, those questions that you asked. What is the purpose of me being on the earth? And I think that hits harder and that goes at the core of the issue with people my age, and that's where my mind is.
Yeah.
I'm
for those listening today, I apologize. This has bounced all over. I've not done a very good job on this. But you're right. The meaning, the origin, where did I come from? Why is there meaning? Not just what has meaning or what is my meaning. Why is there meaning? Why are there things right and wrong? Is it just a social construct, or is it because ingrained within us is this knowledge that we're a creation of God? Why is it wrong to kill? And every society knows that. It's not just because they're our offspring. We know that just within us that it's wrong. We seek something beyond ourselves.
Yeah.
Why? Why would you even, if you were just a random chance that occurred, why would you even think that there would be meaning? The emotions that go with that.
There's very little hope, and there's very little purpose in a random event causing.
And that alone doesn't make evolution wrong.
No, it doesn't. But it makes you. It's the starting point.
It is the starting point. And here's the thought. So you add to that, then, what am I going to do when I die? And there is a coherency to all of this, to where within yourself that evolution doesn't answer these, to where that the origin part of it, where did I come from? Okay, I can maybe see that to a certain extent, but that doesn't explain meaning. It doesn't explain morality, and it definitely doesn't explain that we just cease to exist. None of that's, and it's not just because I grew up as a Christian in a Christian home. That doesn't sit well with any society, because every society has been looking for something transcendent.
Yep.
If it's the Buddhist or the Islamist, or everyone from the beginning is looking for that transcendence.
Try to answer those questions.
Correct. Why? Because there is a coherency that comes with that. And God has given us the answer because we were made in His image. Now, you can go into all these little details that I probably went into too many of them, about how you do testing methods, how one animal became red-haired versus white-haired, and you can go into all of that stuff. Those are just little details. And if you want to get stuck on those, okay.
You're getting stuck on the how.
You're getting stuck on the how. The why, though, sticks in your craw.
Yeah.
And you've got to answer that. And you've got to be honest with yourself. And that might mean you're going to not fit in with everyone else with that. But in my view, Satan has done
Yes.
one of the greatest jobs of anything in bringing this in.
So, I when you're looking, when you're reading the church history, that type of stuff, this was not a conversation. The how, somewhat for some people, but it was. Most people believe there was a God, there was a transcendent. Who that was, whatever. In the
Even
last,
Darwin himself. Yeah.
even in the last 200 years, this how and you can't believe the why unless you know the how has crept in. What you're saying, Satan, like we have these scientific discoveries and we have more things on this little iPad than
Yeah.
like if you were to take this 2,000 years ago, you'd be you'd be, who is this? What is
Wizard.
this?
Yeah.
And so the, for lack of a better term, the temptations of and the different issues that have appeared in culture has evolved
Yeah.
to the point of because of all the knowledge that we have, we're getting stuck on that knowledge, and he has shifted from the asking who, which that was the question of who God is earlier, like after Jesus, who God is, and even before that, to now how. And if you can't understand the how, then you can't understand the who or the why. And that's the change that I've seen with the different societies and the different cultures, and what is it going to be in if we're still here 500 years ago, or 500 years from now. What is Satan knows who we are, knows our inclinations of, we're in a scientific community, scientific culture. Okay, how do you use that to get away from us thinking about God?
Yeah.
You focus on the little details that ultimately don't really matter because we're here.
A book that was helpful to me, it has some science in it. If you can even get your hands on it anymore, was a guy who was part of the Manhattan Project. I think his name was Curtis Sewell. The name of the book is God at Ground Zero. It's got a big, like, the plume from an atomic bomb on the front of it. And that was a very helpful book. And I'd encourage you, if you can get your hands on that, that would be one worth reading if you're wanting more information on this.
Yeah.
And then the case for
a creator. Yeah.
Creator.
I mean,
and then there's a movie coming out, and I don't know the name of the movie. It's crud, I forget. It'll be out on all the emails. Yeah. It's going to be out the end of the month. So we'll look into that. So hopefully we weren't too confusing. Gave you something to think about. Didn't really answer a lot of questions there, but
I don't think that's possible.
That wasn't your purpose.
Right? I don't think it's possible unless we just do a whole series on evolution. So
I've done I taught a class. You'd not be able to tell by how I spoke today, but I taught a class. It was a semester at Brother Wally's Bible Institute, and I would spend an entire day on like one of those little areas. That's why to summarize that in one sentence is difficult.
Which, again, like we were saying, it's the starting point that we have to address and ask questions before we go into any details.
All right.
Mom sent us a doozy.
What do you call a guy with no shins? What's his name?
What?
Tony.
That's so bad. That's so
pretty
bad.
Good.
No,
I like it. I like that one. Tony. All right, very good.
Wordplay.
You guys have a great week, and we'll get going on this series. We'll be a little more succinct, I think, in the future on this. Next week is abortion.
Yep.
Oh my word. Okay.
Yeah,
light subjects.
See, that's also the thing where, like with culture. I mean, I don't think we have a culture one, but I've gotten more texts from my friends about these topics than I ever have, because they're getting
Yeah, bombarded with
bombarded with all these things in there. What is the actual truth here? Like, what are your
yeah, okay.
So
All right, well, you guys have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Love you guys. Bye.